folks, Jambareeqi here. Today I went to go and see Smurfs: The Lost Village. In this film, the Smurfs must stop the evil wizard Gargamel from finding a secret village full of Smurfs, because Gargamel wants to use these Lost Village Smurfs to help him to become a more powerful wizard. Now, when this film was first advertised, people were pretty excited. It looked like it was more faithful to the Smurfs comics and cartoons than the Smurfs live action films, which were critically panned. Now, I've not seen the Smurfs live action films, but I did grow up with the Smurfs cartoon. I thought that Smurfs: The Lost Village was a pretty boring film. I spent most of my movie experience just fidgeting around in my cinema seat, getting into positions like this, and this. I just wasn't engrossed, I wasn't engaged, I wasn't that entertained. I think this is down to how the film is so dependent on making everything move and talk constantly like so many other animated films for kids. Pausing is so important for animation. We can't resonate with characters that don't pause, because it is human to pause. It is human to stop for one moment and breathe, to stop and observe the world around us. I know I've made this complaint frequently, but I have to keep making it because there's so many films that do it. The thing is, this movie is quite pretty. The characters have very soft features and designs, the backgrounds are quite gorgeous, but it's hard to appreciate the beauty of this film's art style when everything is constantly moving. Not just the characters, but also the camera. Everything is fidgeting. The film is also so desperate for laughs, but doesn't really seem that confident about most of the jokes. It's just throwing them at the audience, hoping that at least one of them will get a giggle. But personally, I didn't really laugh at many of the jokes. Sure, I made a or a, but not a or a Now, the Smurfs is very notable for applying each of the characters to distinct personalities or tropes, like Brainy Smurf, Nosy Smurf, Hefty Smurf, Clumsy Smurf, things like that. And while these could work for short stories that you could tell in Saturday morning cartoons, they don't really apply well to feature films. And the movie tries to make up for this by simply exaggerating the one-dimensional tropes of these characters. This just makes our characters very difficult to put up with. It makes them obnoxious. It makes it hard to relate to them, because they are just caricatures. They're not protagonists in a feature-length story. However, the film is mainly focused on Smurfette's character arc. Smurfette is the only female Smurf in the village, and she was created by Gargamel. And she spends a lot of time in the movie questioning her identity. This is something that audiences can resonate with. It's something that even kids can connect to. Who am I? Do I belong here? Am I good? Am I evil? I thought the film did a passable job at exploring Smurfette's identity crisis. It's not incredibly deep or anything, but we do see her dilemma, we do sympathise with her, and we can see where she's coming from. Now, the main hook of this movie's trailers was the idea of the Lost Village. Who are these villagers? And in the trailer, we don't see their faces, they're covered with leaves. And you don't find out what they look like until you see this film. What do we end up seeing? Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's an interesting little twist that does expand things a little. The problem is, much like Smurfette's identity crisis, it doesn't really go anywhere. It opens up questions, but the film doesn't really want to answer them. That's the thing, this movie had potential. There are some clever ideas there. There are some dramatic moments that could be taken somewhere. But the movie is way more interested in making Clumsy Smurf fall over and Hefty Smurf brag about his muscly arms. The movie does try to throw in some hip pop songs into the soundtrack to make it seem down with the kids and cool. It's not Trolls level, but it's close. I mean, the film actually uses I'm Blue by Eiffel 65. Yes. In terms of voice acting, it's a pretty decently selected cast. No one sounds distracting. You don't stop and think, oh, I know that voice, I've heard him from that TV show. No, everyone seems to be really immersed in their roles, and you do believe that they are attached to the Smurfs' personalities. But the film does have a very odd casting decision. Gordon Ramsay plays a Smurf. Yes, I'm not kidding. The celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay is the voice of a Smurf. He plays Baker Smurf. Luckily, he only has one line, so he's not too distracting. To be fair, I can imagine very, very young children enjoying this film. They will like the wacky antics, they'll like the pretty colours, they'll like the silliness, they'll like seeing characters fall over. There's a lot of stuff here that kids do like. But there's nothing really there for parents. There's nothing really there for adults in the audience. Yes, this movie is clearly for small kids, but the best family movies are timeless. They manage to draw in the attention and engagement of the parents, the brothers, the sisters. They're timeless enough to make adults tap into the child inside of them. And I don't think that this movie will do that for adults. To conclude, I thought that Smurfs The Lost Village was a very boring and annoying film. Sure, it has some clever ideas here and there, but it doesn't seem that interested in developing them or taking them places. It seems way more focused on following the beats of modern animated films. I've been Jambareeqi, and I hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, then please consider supporting me on my Patreon. Cheerio, folks.